Hello, welcome to our extra special bonus episode. More episodes like this where we have a guest will be available on our Patreon for monthly donors. If you would like to donate to our Patreon and have access to bonus content, visit patreon.com/nightclassy. You can donate as much or as little as you'd like and have access to all kinds of fun things, including episodes like this. Enjoy. Hey, I'm Kat.
I'm Haley.
And I'm Clint.
And this is Night Classy, a podcast where two teachers unwind, sip wine, and discuss the topics we wish we could teach at school. So, first, what are we drinking?
I am drinking a red wine, Nighthawk Black. I don't really remember which one it is. I feel like I'm going back to my
Probably
roots,
the Pinot
though.
Noir.
Yeah.
I can't imagine buying any other one, right?
They have a bunch of red ones, like 2
Yeah.
or 3, but it's the purple case. Purple case, Nighthawk Black. Is that what it is?
Why do we always stumble, or you always
It
stumble
doesn't-
over black?
It doesn't sound right. I think it should just be Nighthawk.
Nighthawk, yeah.
Or Black Nighthawk, but Nighthawk
Right.
Black just, they're
It should be
trying
There's a
so
lot
hard.
of cuz.
yeah.
Yeah. It's too much for
They're
me.
doing too many things, because I feel like the Nighthawk and the Black, like it should either be like
It should be
Botobox
Black.
Black or Botobox Nighthawk.
Right, Blackhawk.
Nighthawk Black.
I drink it. Anyway, and then I'm drinking a lemon flavored White Claw. It's pretty good. Clint, what are you drinking?
Drinking a good old H2O.
Yeah.
Got some water in here. Yeah.
I knew you were going to say H2O.
Yeah. Water was too plain. You have to go with dihydrogen monoxide, right?
Yeah.
That's the scientific name.
Okay.
You're right.
Well, we have to stay hydrated in here because it's about 1,000 degrees in our stairwell. We have 5 people crammed into about what would you say this is? Like an 8 by 4 foot space, if that.
Approximately. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Feels good.
It does feel good. And we have a very special guest joining us for this bonus episode. His name is Clint.
Clint
Yeah,
Eiland.
Thank you guys for having me on.
Yeah.
I used to do radio in high school, in college, but I really haven't been back on anything like this in a while. So I'm glad.
Feel like
y'all
you're going
had
to
me
snap
on.
right back into it.
Maybe.
I feel like your career has probably prepared you pretty well for this.
Right.
Yeah. How much background do we give?
Tell us a
Do you
little
want,
bit about
tell
yourself.
us, what do you do?
I'm actually a news reporter over in Jackson, Tennessee, WBBJ. So I cover all breaking news, every topic under the sun, no matter how ridiculous or serious it is. I just got into that a little bit after college. So
Best news reporter in Jackson. We've seen him in action.
Yeah, we saw him live.
Yeah.
yeah,
It was great.
Thank you guys. I saw the support, and that look. You go on our website, those numbers go up. It's good.
We should discuss how we know him.
Yeah. So the 5th person in this room right now is our roommate and a good friend, Kelly. And Clint is her boyfriend.
Shout out to Hinge.
Yeah. Shout out Hinge.
She's too shy to say anything for the podcast, but I'm her
She'll be
conduit
on.
for this one.
We're
yeah.
going to convince her.
Yeah, eventually it'll happen. Well, we invited Clint on for this very special bonus episode so he could take a turn telling a story. And we don't know what he's about to share with us, but we heard he's very excited. So we're excited.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all
We're all
right.
ears. Are you ready?
I guess so, yeah. Hey,
right.
Whenever you guys, all right, we ready?
Let's
Just
jump
jump
into
straight
it.
in? Okay, all right. So I've listened to a lot of you guys' shows, and you kind of like the mysteries, the tales, stuff like that.
Yeah.
One thing that I think I'm bringing that you haven't really had yet is a personal connection to a mystery and or I guess not tall tale, but something like it's a mystery murder, stuff like that.
Ooh.
No, it's not that close, don't worry. But, yeah, nothing too sad to listen to, but
Just sad enough.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, exactly.
Can we
So-
still laugh?
Yes,
Tissues?
it's more. It's not. You're not gonna cry.
Okay.
I'm not saying you're
Are
gonna laugh.
you going to cry, though?
No, but your jaw will.
Please
will-
don't cry in here.
Our jaw will drop.
Yeah, exactly. You need-
Yeah, if you cry, we're going to make fun of you. For
Yeah,
sure.
I'm not gonna cry for this one. Alec can cut that. My tears.
Cuts to 30 minutes later, Clint's in like a full-on breakdown fetal position.
Just jack me up to the chipmunk. No, but all right. So, where do I even start with this? So, to give some background, I grew up in Tarpon Springs, Florida. Beautiful little coastal seaside town. It's about an hour west of Tampa, for those who know Florida a little bit more. And Tarpon Springs is a very nice town. Like, I'm not exaggerating anything. It is a very nice, very quality.
What makes it nice to you?
Well, to me, the beaches, the people, it's pretty unique. It's actually one of the most Greek cities in America. If you go to our sponge docks, that's the next big thing. Our big export is sponges. Always has been.
Like sea sponges?
Yep.
Just
straight
naturally
Ooh.
occurring, or they're farms? Okay.
No, it's naturally occurring.
Can you imagine having a sea sponge farm?
There are.
Really?
There are,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I want one.
The real
Do you think you
quality,
can make a
no.
mattress out of? Okay, I'm sorry. This is
The
way
real
off
quality
topic.
stuff you got to get from the ocean floor. You're not getting it from those farm raised people. No.
Those,
Okay.
I freaking hate fake sponges. God.
Exactly. That's why. Look, next time, I guess Kelly should have thought of this, but when she was in Tarpon, should have brought you guys back some natural sea sponges.
Yeah, Kelly.
God,
why didn't
Kelly.
you think of that?
Yeah. All we got was a million other thoughtful gifts.
Yeah.
Didn't even get the main export. But yeah, so that's kind of what Tarpon's known for, actually, is its Greek community, sponges, decent. I mean, there's no crime. Like, let's be honest. Well, there was no crime.
dun dun dun.
Right, exactly.
How
Well,
every forensic file starts. It was a nice town, or it was such a nice person. They did nothing wrong. Everything was perfect.
the sleepy town. That's how they always say. The sleepy seaside town of Tarpon Springs is where we find our protagonist.
Ooh, okay.
Right. So I grew up there, and it is I grew up in the nice part of Tarpon Springs, like nice neighborhood over by the Gulf. And this was about, let's see, what age was I when I first met him? So I was about like 10 years old, I believe, is when we kind of got our first involvement in this thing. So my family needed some work done around the house, right? Seaside, salt gets everywhere. Like, you need somebody to help your house out. So we hired a handyman. This guy's name is Anton Leo Stragage. Stragage. He was an immigrant, and that's not like what we asked him first, but we heard a recommendation from a neighbor. And so we reached out to this guy, and he's like, yeah, I can fix some stuff up. From what I vaguely remember, I remember he had an accent. I thought he was just like Russian or something, but my parents told me he was Albanian.
Mm-hmm.
So Anton comes over, to our house every once in a while, helps us fix stuff up, did good work. Guys all, checked out everything.
How often was he there? And is it like a seasonal thing that you need work done? But
It was more like temporary, like just because we had kind of let some stuff build up and all that. So
yeah,
we need him to come over and just fix this or that.
So is it like cleaning you have to do for like the side of your house, or like I don't really know anything about Florida? And
it's more just like okay, what are they called? What are the things that slant over the sides of walls? The
gutters?
No. Well, yes, actually, yes, he did some of that work, but oh my gosh, like canopies,
awning.
Why am I? There we go.
Awning.
All right, yes. Sorry, I forgot the word for awning there, but yeah, stuff like that. Like your metal starts rotting, you have to replace those.
I see.
Just random stuff like that. Busy jobs that you kind of need somebody to do, but
yeah, you find out who your friends use, word of mouth, you get the person.
Exactly, and you don't have them on for a long time. But Anton came over, I want to say like once or twice a week, and didn't say much. I'll say hi, we'd let him in the house, do stuff, etc., etc. Now, this is a pretty boring part of the story because nothing really happens, right? We have Anton do all this stuff. We called him Leo. I'm just going to call him Leo.
Why?
Yeah.
Because that was his name, was Anton Leo Stragage. And he told us, like, oh, call me Leo.
Okay.
All right. So, we would call him Leo. And finally, stuff had finished up. We really didn't need anyone around the house. So we said, thank you, Leo. Paid him out for what he had done. And there he goes. He just didn't come back. It was all nice and everything. And then there's about a 4 or 5 year gap, right? We're going to skip ahead in this story.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, right. Well, no, because I have to set this up because we knew Leo. We knew he had a family, knew all that, and he did good work for us. Let's fast forward to 2014.
Okay.
The sleepy seaside town of Tarpon Springs sees a murder. this murder happens on Belcher Drive. Belcher Drive is about 5 minutes from my house. Like, if you look on a map, and I know Belcher Drive, you can just slide it over, right? Well, it shocks the whole golf community. And we even get like national papers coming in because the guy who's murdered is a doctor named Stephen Schwartz. Everyone knew Stephen Schwartz. I mean, he was one of the bigger ones in the area, billboards, stuff like that. I think one of the papers said he had a $30 million fortune.
Jesus. From being a doctor?
That's correct.
Damn.
Wait, I may have heard about
I think this sounds really familiar.
Yeah.
You probably heard a little bit about this because this made
I
national
think I heard
news.
about this on a podcast.
Yeah, I'm thinking of a podcast that I'm like, this might be
This is crazy of a personal connection. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
keep going.
Okay, yeah. So, yeah, this guy gets murdered in his house, and it's a brutal one. Strangled and stabbed to death. And it was, and everyone knew, like, what's going, like, it's a murder. It's obviously, he didn't hang himself, he didn't stab himself.
He stabbed himself to death.
Right, he strangled, just holding his own neck and stabbing
He's
himself.
probably on acid.
There we go. That's what everyone is on in Florida these days. Again, no drugs ever hit the golf side community.
Bath salts. Yeah. That's what I was
Acid
looking
wouldn't
for.
do it. We know.
He was smoking the marijuana. You never know what goes on with that. But either way, this guy, this guy gets murdered. And, it shocks the whole community. And we didn't know Stephen Schwartz, but through some connections.
I thought everyone knew Stephen Schwartz.
Well, personally. Okay, all right.
Sorry.
You know what I meant. No, we didn't speak to him personally, but through some connections, my mom actually kind of knew his wife, Becky Schwartz. It's bridge playing connections.
Bridge?
I know, right?
Wow. How old is your mom? That may have
Florida.
come off wrong, but I think it is wrong, actually.
All right. It's not so much that it's not so much that I'm afraid to answer. I'm just thinking, because I know her birthday. It's September 12th, because it's the day after September 11th. The year.
Wow, you don't think of it like September 11th is the day before my mom's birthday?
It's a terrible way to remember it, but it works. Like,
never forget.
I dated this guy who his birthday was September 11th as well as September 11th, and he was always like, he like always hated his birthday because it was always September 11th and not his birthday.
It's a real bummer.
Was he born in 2001? Because is that the twist of the story?
Yeah, I dated a guy who was born in 2001. He just graduated high school, so shout out.
So we can finally be public.
Really sucks that my birthday is on the biggest national tragedy yet. All right, buddy, we have bigger things to worry about. But where were we? The doctor's murdered.
Yeah.
Stabby.
Your mom was friends with his wife.
There we
Stabby
go.
Strangly.
Right. Becky
Stabby
Schwartz and all
McStrangler.
that.
Got it.
And so, shocks everyone. We're reading about this in the paper and whatnot. And here's where the timeline gets a bit hazy, because I remember there was all this investigation. There was pointing fingers, right? I know the wife immediately came up because apparently some
That's
friends
just
of the
how it
family.
goes.
Yeah, exactly. It's like Carol Baskin and Tiger
Yeah,
King.
every time.
It's always the spouse.
Yeah.
Exactly. First person you point to. Well, sometime after that, I think in 2015, I can't remember the exact day, and I'm not too sure if we had heard this before, but there's a big headline. And it's arrest made in the murder of Dr. Schwartz. We look in the paper. What do you know? It's Anton Leo Stragage in the paper with his mugshot being arrested. And my parents immediately call us and they're like, you gotta see this. Go look at this. And it's Leo right there. Leo the handyman.
How did he look in it? If you remember, like, you see mugshots where they look like really messed up or they look really tired or they look smug, or like, how did he look?
He looked tired. I wouldn't say he was like on a bender or anything, but he looked like a man who had seen some stuff. That's not whether or not he's innocent or guilty, but yeah, we see the picture and we're like, oh my gosh, like that's handyman Leo. We let that guy into our house.
That's our guy.
Right. And we're all like talking around just wondering, why would he kill him? Because the initial rumor out of Tarpon was that he was a hitman. That is what
Really?
started going around. Yes, because the question was who hired him. Because I mean, why does a handyman
Yeah.
You know.
Was he working for him?
Here's where the butterfly effect comes in. He had worked for Dr. Schwartz. He worked at multiple Schwartz properties because Steve,
Because he had multiple Schwartz properties.
Right. And I guess, when you look back at it, he had been working for Schwartz and us at a certain time, right?
Okay.
And I wonder, when we finished up with Leo and we were kind of done, he probably went back and he seemed like he worked full time for Dr. Schwartz. And so I'm kind of thinking, looking back on it, when we kind of finished him up, did that kind of get him to go full time for Dr. Schwartz? Because he paid Leo handsomely. I mean, this guy, that's why it was so weird, because why would Leo kill him? This guy pays Leo fine. He works he does great work. We already know he does. And all of a sudden, there's these accusations that he's a hitman for somebody. And immediately, Leo says, I'm innocent. I am set up. I am not a hitman. I have been paid nothing. I did not kill this guy. And over the ensuing months, stuff starts dripping out.
Yeah.
And somewhere along the way, Leo's lawyers starting pointing the finger at Becky Schwartz. Because whether it was Leo or family friends had started saying that Dr. Schwartz was going to divorce his wife. They were in a bad relationship. She was spending money like crazy. 30 million of it, apparently. Not 30 million of it, but a part of the 30 million, she had just gone out and spent it, right?
Girls got to shop.
It was more than shopping. I mean, she was a shade character. She actually had a son who died from drunk driving, and she embezzled money from Mothers Against Drunk Driving, allegedly.
Oh my God.
Yeah. She was not.
Yikes.
It sounds to me like this bitch did it.
Right.
I'm just going to go out on a limb.
Yeah. What was his life insurance for?
Yeah.
See, that's kind of, the next phase of the story is well, what would she do? Why would she kill him?
Okay.
Maybe it's because of this, right?
Yeah.
But then that also makes you kind of wonder. I mean, Steve Schwartz is a smart guy. He's a doctor. Couldn't he get a really good divorce lawyer and not have to do that? Did he have a prenup? There are all those questions.
Yeah. But maybe they did have a prenup and she killed him because if he divorced her, she'd get nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Also true. Or there's an alternate theory which comes up here. In the ensuing months, stuff starts dripping out, right? Leo's lawyers then point to Becky as the main culprit. They say she must have done it. She set Leo up. They claim that on the morning of the murder, Becky called Leo and said, hey, I need you to pick up something from the house. Can you go do that? Now, he's their handyman. He works for him full time. That, request wouldn't be out of the ordinary.
Mm-hmm. He
claims that he went into the house, found Dr. Schwartz on the ground, dead. However, he doesn't call the police because Leo says, I was afraid. I'm an immigrant. My lawyer always told me don't talk to police under any circumstances. So I never called the police. And in his interview and everything, the police said he had inconsistencies, right? Well, they have the phone record data and he's at the house the morning of the murder. That's his explanation, is that, look, I stumbled upon it. I didn't do it. It was just this crazy setup that the wife did it.
Did he tell anyone?
No.
Hey, this happened, you should call?
No.
I mean, that sounds believable to me because why would you kill your full-time employer?
Exactly.
Doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I think
she had way more motive than he did.
But
and
why wouldn't he do anything about it?
I mean, I can see not wanting to call the police. You see this and you just want to get out of there. You're probably also worried you're going to be framed and that if you report it, they're going to think it was you, especially if you're
hindsight is
undocumented
20/20.
person. But
yeah. I mean, what would you we all think, okay, if I walk in a room with a dead body, I'm going to immediately do XYZ, but it's you walk in and it's there. It's oh my God.
I mean, he's probably well, he's dead. You can't save him at this point anyway. Just save yourself.
Right.
Not that that's the right thing to do, but I can like see that train of thought.
And if you try to like call the ambulance, I guess, or whatever, and you're still there and you're automatically getting questioned.
It's a bad situation all around.
For sure. And the other twist here was that the house's security system, all high-tech, fancy stuff. And I mean, it's Belcher. Like, those people, they make sure that they have high-tech stuff.
But they don't need it, technically, in this sleepy town. They don't need all this high-tech security.
They don't technically need it. You know how it's a weird deal there.
I know how it goes.
Yeah, exactly. Well, either way, they went to the security system and the hard drive's gone.
Ooh.
That leaves it to 3 people then.
Spooky. Oh, okay.
Because they say the only 3 people who had ever interacted with that security system, Dr. Schwartz, who, okay, he's not in the picture anymore unless he's the unluckiest guy in the world who removed the hard drive before his own murder. Leo, who had worked on the security system, helped setting it up, or Becky Schwartz. So right now, you're already down to 2 suspects. It's either Leo or Schwartz. Becky Schwartz. There's another rumor saying that Becky and Leo work together. That's where the Hitman rumor comes in. Because they're saying that Becky must have promised Leo a certain amount of money to do the deed, but then she didn't have a way to get the fall guy or whatever, so she made him the fall guy. Comes out, I think, in 2016. This is where the story just gets kooky. In 1971, in New Mexico, a teenage Steve Schwartz tells one of his close friends, I'm going to go get us some money. He says, I'm going to rob this dentist. I'm going to go up to him with this gun that he had, and I'm going to point at his head. I'm going to say, give me the money, and we're going to get some money. This is the same Steve Schwartz. No mistaken identity here. I think he's 17 when this happens. The friend then tells police, and he drives Steve Schwartz to where they say the dentist is going to be, closing up his office or whatever. And the driver, who is his accomplice, he's like, hey man, I can't go through this. Like, I can't hold that gun to that guy's head. No, you're going to have to do this on your own. He drives away. Later that night, he runs into Steve Schwartz, who has a gun and some money. And Steve Schwartz says, I shot him. Shot him in between the head. And I think it was maybe a week later, Steve Schwartz is arrested as a 17-year-old accused of murder. Because he did it. He shot the guy in the head.
What? Why was he in Mexico? Was it
It was New Mexico.
Oh, New Mexico. Sorry.
Right, yeah.
Still.
Yeah. Well, he may have, I think he grew up there. I think this is why it was so weird that he was in Florida, right? But that's...
Wait. So this kid is the murdered doctor's son.
No, it's him.
It was
It's
him.
the murdered doctor.
Got it.
Yeah, this guy's life is full of murder. So as a teenager, he killed a dentist in a botched robbery attempt.
Whoa.
His accomplice, who gave an interview and everything, says, I don't think he was a bad kid, but he made an extremely terrible mistake. This is where I don't know the full backstory, but for whatever reason, Steve Schwartz only gets like 9 years for a murder. Probably because he's a juvenile.
Is he white?
Yes.
Was he rich?
I don't really know that part of it.
Yeah.
But also, he was a juvenile, so maybe that played a part in it. Because it was I guess he said, I didn't plan to kill the guy. I don't know.
Several things came into play. Probably had a really good lawyer.
Yeah.
And
Right. And he was apparently rich enough to go to medical school. Because what happens after his 9-year stint is his friends say he goes to medical school, which I guess you can get into medical school even if you have a...
He probably got the opportunity to work on his degree while he was in prison, right? Like he probably got a bachelor's and then was able to go out and start from there.
Yeah.
Or even maybe more than a bachelor's.
And since he was a minor, like maybe it could have like gotten off his record.
Or like sealed record.
Yeah.
I think that's what they do, is that you can't open those records. Like they exist. But so that, maybe either, and it was a different time. It was 1980 something. So I guess you could conceivably hide stuff. Either way, he goes to medical school and his friends say he does well there. He moves to Dunedin, which is about 20 minutes away from Tarpon. And he sets up shop. And his friends say, and I remember reading this in another paper that was like cited by another one. They say that he moved there because maybe he wanted to undo some of the harm that he had caused. So maybe there's a redemption story here. Maybe this doctor who had killed somebody.
What type of doctor was he?
I think he was a neurologist.
Okay.
Something with an N, which reduces it down. But something like that. Something like that. Well, Leo's lawyers pick up on this because this is a huge bombshell, is that this Steve Schwartz guy that just got murdered is himself a murderer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Leo's lawyers say Becky Schwartz knew about the murder, and she was blackmailing Steve Schwartz, saying, if you divorce me, I will let everybody know about your past. Your reputation will be ruined with your community. His kids don't know it. They only learned his dad was a murderer when they read it in the paper.
Oh my God.
Wow. So him and Becky obviously had a terrible relationship at that point. Like, for it to get to the point of not only divorce, but she's blackmailing him. He's doing probably something too.
Exactly.
Yikes.
And that's what Leo's lawyers are basically saying, is that she was threatening him, blackmailing him, because he did not want this getting out. But she knew, and she did not want to cut back on her lavish spending, right?
Yeah.
So she frames Leo, apparently, allegedly. Nowadays, Becky is with a new husband up north, and one of the local papers went to track some people down, right, that interacted with Becky, because once this all started coming out, people want to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Supposedly, Becky up in north, wherever, Wisconsin, I think it was, Minnesota, something.
I'm sorry, was Leo convicted?
No.
Okay.
He was set to go to trial this March.
Oh.
But with coronavirus, everything has gone haywire.
Dang.
Oh, wow. So he's just been sitting, waiting in jail?
For how long?
He was arrested 2015, I believe.
Oh my God.
He is still in jail, and they're still trying to. I mean, he's going to trial. It's not like they're backing off or anything, because Becky's main argument is that I am a small woman who's not, she's not exactly athletic fitting or anything. I could not have strangled and stabbed my husband. Leo, who is 6'3", decently built guy, he's a lot more capable of murder. And plus, his DNA's at the scene. His phone records put him at the scene.
Is there any autopsy or forensic evidence that's been released? Because maybe she drugged him and did it while he was asleep. Who knows?
If it did, it didn't make the papers, because the only DNA evidence they found was the doctor's DNA on Leo's clothing. But Leo said, he's like, well, I went there and I checked on him because I wasn't sure if he's dead.
Mm-hmm.
So either he's getting framed.
And if he was, if he was stabbing him, there would have been blood splatter on his clothing. It wouldn't have.
Yeah, but they didn't see him that day because he fled the scene, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I feel like in order to convict him, they should have real evidence.
And there's stuff whatever this trial is about to reveal, I would assume there's stuff that the public doesn't know about.
Totally, yeah.
So there's stuff that comes out. They're how many times do you hear about cases where we have this great forensic evidence. We're going to save this for the trial.
Yeah.
They shouldn't know so we don't know.
That's so true.
There's other stuff too, because Becky, up in her little life up north,
Yeah.
they found out she's been lying about everything. She's lied about how many kids she has. She's lied about her background. She's lied about everything.
How?
So this lady has issues.
Yes.
A lot of them.
Because she's lied to a lot of people.
This is Alec, the producer. What if she hired another hitman and Leo was the fall guy for her actual hitman?
Right.
Yeah.
That's one of these theories when you start thinking about it. It's okay, well, all right, let's all assume that Becky can't be the one who did this because she's too small. She's maybe a shady person, but she's capable of murder, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if Leo is just really unlucky, and maybe Becky was the one who removed the hard drive and had it all set in motion.
She's involved somehow, I think.
Right.
Yeah. It's she sounds like she has way more motive, and it's always the spouse.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's
usually the
easily-
husband, but if it's not the husband.
What was your family's take on this? Like, since you guys knew him, were you like, there's no way he's capable of this? It has to be the wife, or what?
Personal opinion. No legal jurisdiction here. Leo was kind of a not an off-putting. What's another word for off-putting? What's a less harsh version of?
Intimidating?
Yes. He was an intimidating guy for the most part. He didn't say much when he would come in. He would do his work. He'd go away. And thinking back on this, I'm not accusing anyone of anything, and I'm not saying that this is a link. But around the time that Leo was working for us, my mom says she had these really nice pair of earrings go missing. Now, my mom's pretty meticulous about stuff. Like, she does not lose stuff, right? Definitely not jewelry. She says, I, for the life of me, could never figure out where these earrings went. And I remember Leo working upstairs. She remembers, like, he would have access to the kind of area where she would keep some of that stuff. And we don't know what, like, and she never found it in anything. Never found it in a trash can, never found it down the sink, nothing.
Right.
She's almost wondering, like, is there a connection? Like, what?
Yeah, I mean, you
Being
never
a thief
know.
doesn't make you a
Yeah,
murderer,
exactly.
though.
That's true.
That's a big
Yeah.
jump.
It is.
But it's still a weird detail. Like, I mean, that woman lying about, like, how many kids she has still also doesn't make her a murderer.
Right.
But it just adds another, like, shady thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that's this whole story is almost a convoluted tale of
Who done it?
who's lying the least and who has the most motive to lie.
Yeah.
Because Leo got caught in a lot
I mean,
of lies.
it really doesn't seem like Leo
Yeah.
had any motive. I just don't, like, unless the prosecution can build some kind of a motive, I don't see how they have any kind
Yeah,
of.
maybe there's some like background story that like
Yeah.
no one's discovered.
Right.
I think the whole crux of Leo's lawyers and his argument is that that's the thing. He doesn't have a motive. Her whole argument, her lawyers' team say, well, she is incapable of committing this murder. So how can you convict her on a brutal murder that she has no capability of committing?
And like when Leo goes to trial, they can't, like, his defense can't be accusing her. That's not allowed. So like if you just put her aside, like, it doesn't sound, I mean, granted, he is an undocumented immigrant and he has a lot like stacked against him, like where his trial could be unfair, but outside of it, like, unfairness, I don't see how they could convict him unless they have some crazy forensic evidence that we don't know about.
That's kind of what I'm thinking too. And I mean, if he was set to go to trial, if they went to trial right now like they were supposed to, I would almost say that he's going to get off because there's not that smoking gun. You can put him at the scene of the crime, but he has a decent alibi because, look, even if you say, all right, well, we found his DNA on you. I worked with him full time. All right. Yes, I discovered the body. I didn't want to get deported.
Mm-hmm.
He has an okay alibi, and there's nothing linking him to stabbing and choking.
Yeah. Like, unless they found a blood splattered shirt or something like that, I don't see how.
And they haven't found the weapon because that would be huge.
Yeah.
No
You
weapon.
can't convict someone without the murder weapon almost ever. Yeah. Doesn't work.
That makes me think it was a different hitman.
Yeah.
Because if Leo had done it, he would have tried to get away, right?
Right. And wouldn't
Yeah, he would
have.
have jumped out of that town and been across the country.
Now,
right?
then again,
Maybe?
it's not. I mean, there are dumb hitmans out there.
Yeah.
That was my other question. Did Leo seem dumb?
Well, like, and if Leo was the hitman, I feel like he immediately would have thrown the wife under the bus and been like, yeah, like, I'm the hitman, get a plea deal to tell them she hired him.
Either way, though, he's still. I mean, even if you do that, how many years are you getting? You're
Well,
getting
you
like,
might, it's Florida, you might get life in prison instead of death.
At some point, that kind of becomes like all right, do I want to spend my life inside a cell or do I just want to end it?
Yeah.
And if you're looking at it from, okay, let's imagine that he's the hitman. All right, well, here's a guy who is already kind of shady. He's kind of lied to people about his background. He has some sort of, maybe not like a total motive, but He clearly has, connections to the guy that's been murdered. He's capable of the murder. He's at the scene the morning of. The hard drive's missing. He's one of the only people who could have it.
So are you leaning towards Leo? Because it seems like you're like more so. It seems like maybe you're undecided, but you're like, I could see it more so being him.
Well, admittedly, we're not in the courtroom, so I can't present all evidence, but...
Right.
All this stuff is like highly circumstantial.
That's true.
Like,
That's
even
true.
if you believe in your heart that he did it, it doesn't sound like enough evidence to convict him.
That's the thing. I'm not sure he should be convicted. At the same time, he lied a lot. He lied to investigators. He tried to say he wasn't in certain places. He tried to say he didn't know XYZ, but he did. And that's what gives me pause. Like, if you just told me some of the basics, I would be like, no, he's fine. But then you go into, well, he did this and this and this, and he's here and he's there.
But he's a highly vulnerable person. There's potentially a language barrier. Like,
That's true. That's true. And it could all be a giant misunderstanding. It could all be set up. It could be set up by Becky. I think she's extremely shady.
I think she might have a hand in something.
I really think it was her.
I'm still kind of partial to the theory that Becky and Leo were like in conjunction together, working together, and she just threw him under the bus because it's easy to do. I mean, if you pay Hitman, you're like, hey, he did it. Something like that.
Does Leo have his own family?
He does.
Where did the rumors about him being a hitman come from? Do you know?
I mean, admittedly, that was just kind of what made the rounds around the neighborhood. Because
before this murder?
No, not before.
Oh, okay.
No, we wouldn't have. We would not have let him in the house if we had heard those. Yeah.
He's
got a good deal.
He's a hitman, and he'll scrape the salt off your siding.
He'll.
The hitman thing's just a side job. It's okay. Don't worry about it.
It's called having a diversified skill set.
Yeah, you have to expand your portfolio.
He'll take care of your problems. Wink, wink. Got a
He'll
husband.
take out your trash.
Sleeping with the sponges. But I don't know. I'm kind of partial to the whole Becky and Leo working together and then the twist. I don't know. It just seems like, considering they're both liars here, why don't we just put them both in the same category and just say that?
I mean, you never know.
Yeah, I'm anxious now to hear what happens with this trial, because there has to be evidence that is not in the public eye that they're just waiting to reveal.
When the trial eventually happens and there's stuff out, you should come back on and close off the story.
Yeah, like, here's what happened here's the bombshell that dropped. I'm down.
Yeah, let's do it. This
That
was a blast.
Very good story.
Yeah, great job,
You'll have
Clint.
to come on again.
For sure.
Well, I hope it's not for running into any alleged murderers. I
Yeah,
hope that's
let's
not the
not
one.
do that.
Hopefully
I
not.
feel like you have a very interesting life and run into stories all the time.
We could do a full episode on the weird crap I've seen around rural West Tennessee.
We will have
One
to
day,
do
one
that.
day,
That's
yeah.
a deal then.
There's some people. You're gonna have to wait on that one, but absolutely.
For sure. Well, cool. Thank you so much, Clint.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
Yeah. 3, 2, 1.
Class dismissed.
That was great.
Sorry, I have sweat on these headphones.
I do too. Yeah.